Hey everyone, I am prep cooking today, and so I wanted to share with you what I do on most Sundays to get us ready for the week. I know that prep cooking has meant so much to our family. It really helps make the work week and the school week go much easier, and this really is just a really good way of staying on track. When you think you don't have anything, it's just, or you're tired, or you've had a long day and you don't want to cook, if you have some things prepped, you can get through your day. I'm going to start with a recipe. And the recipe that I'm going to share with you is an old family recipe, but we're going to use it in a different way. This recipe was originally for Italian bread. And when I say Italian bread, it's kind of like garlic bread, but it's got a twist to it, and there's no garlic in it. So we would use this, and we would make this whenever we would make spaghetti, lasagna, stuff like that. But of course, we're not going to put it on bread because we're doing keto. So my idea for this week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this up, and then later in the week I have some boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and you can do it on chicken legs, chicken breasts, you can do it on skin on, bone on chicken thighs, you know, whatever you want to use it on. It would be good on beef, it would be good on fish. I mean, it's just a really good versatile recipe, but I'm going to show you what it is, and then I'm going to put it to the side. That's one of the things that I'm going to be doing. If you hear a beep and I walk away, it's because I'm currently prep cooking cheese crisps in my oven. I do have a video that I've already done about the cheese crisps, so I'm going to link that down below. And so here are the basic ingredients. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a whole stick of butter. This has been out today. It is soft, so that's what you really want. And then the next thing we're going to use is a ½ cup of mayonnaise. This is a new jar. I had to get it. So that beep right there tells me I have 1 minute until my timer starts going off. So you'll see me leave in just a second. But this is Duke's mayonnaise. I got this at Aldi today, and then I went to Dollar General Market and found that it was on sale for about $1 less. So I was a little disappointed. I didn't buy a second jar. 1 jar is just enough for us right now, so there you go. So this is ½ cup of your preferred mayonnaise. It can be Duke's, it can be Hellmann's, it can be homemade, it can be avocado based. You know, it is whatever your choice is. But it's just mayonnaise and butter. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix these together well. And it's pretty simple to mix it together because it's softened. And okay, so that's the first part of it. Now comes the fun part of it in just a minute. All right, so I've got the cheese crisps out of the oven. They're cooling over there. In a minute I'll get them off, and I'm going to start bacon. I'm only going to do a pound of bacon. We only have 1 person eating it, so we'll make a pound at a time. So now the next part of this recipe, we've got in here a stick of butter and a ½ cup of mayonnaise. Now the next thing we're going to put in here is, I usually do ½ cup, so let me just do that. And with this cheese, what I did, I'll show you the cheese. I don't use, I use the Parmesan cheese that comes in the wedges. And what I did is I used my food processor and this blade, and I got this consistency. If you want shredded cheese, use the shreds, but for this recipe I wanted the crumbles. So I just went ahead and crumbled the whole thing because I'm going to make a recipe later in the week that will use this as well, so this will be a good application for it. So again, we've got ½ cup of mayonnaise, ½ cup of Parmesan cheese, we've got a stick of butter. Now garlic bread, one of the things that makes garlic bread so great is the salt. So we're going to use ½ teaspoon of salt. a teaspoon of salt, excuse me. A teaspoon of salt, and then the secret ingredient. So normally this is it. This is the entire recipe. You spread it all over the fresh French bread, and then the last thing you do is you sprinkle it with dill. Here's dill. Because we're not going to sprinkle it, I'm going to add it into the mix, and I am going to use a teaspoon of dill. My grandma was 100% Swedish. Dill is a very Swedish spice, but it just, I don't know, it does something to the recipe that just makes it divine. So that's it. That is our simple recipe for today. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put this on some chicken thighs, and I'm going to bake them in the oven. And this will be a really nice topping. The mayonnaise will add a lot of good fat to this. And so this is done for this week. So I'm going to go ahead and put that to the side. And then the next thing I'm going to prep is going to be salad. You know, I know that we're on keto, but we still need some good veggies, and I like a salad. A salad is a really good thing. I have found that 100 grams of lettuce is going to be about 3 carbs. 100 grams is about 3 cups. So if you're making a 4-cup salad, you're getting 3 to 4 grams in it. So this is how I prep my salad. The first thing I get is this knife. And I don't know if you can see the serrated edge, but it's not really a sharp edge because I can run my finger over it. And if you see, these are more rounded than they are sharp. And that's what you want for cutting lettuce, because this is going to bruise it less and it's going to let it stay good longer. So I take a head, and I learned this from a friend when I was like 12 years old. It was so impressive. She said, "Oh no, that's not how you get rid of the core of the lettuce. Here's how you do it." And then all you have to do is pull out the core. That is one of the easiest things you can do. Now, when you're doing this, there's different things that you can use this lettuce for. I've seen where they take water and they peel off the lettuce, so you can use them for lettuce wraps and stuff like that, but that's not what I'm going to do today. Today I'm just going to cut it, and I'm going to put half of it to the side because I like to mix my lettuces. As you see, I do have romaine over here too, so I use mostly romaine because I prefer it. It has more nutrients to it, but when this is 99 cents a head and this is $3 a pack, I stretch out this with my lettuce. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it into nice thick layers, and then I'm just going to go ahead and chop it up. This makes really nice bite-sized pieces, and then all you have to do is go ahead, and I'm going to put this in a strainer over here because we're going to mix this with the other lettuce in just a minute. So here's the romaine I got today. This was $2.69 for 3 heads at Aldi and at Dollar General Market. And of course I can't open this now because my hands are greasy. There we go. Now how you chop romaine is, this is what my mom showed me a few years ago. First of all, I'm going to take this piece off because it's broken. And you know, you just kind of look at the lettuce. If it's got rust spots, you're going to go ahead and remove it. But really, we're not going to cut any further than here. So this looks good. So the first thing that I do is I always chop off the ends. It's not that they're horrible, it's just that I like the ends chopped off. Then all you do is you run a knife through 1, 2, turn it half or a quarter, and then do 3. And then all you have to do is chop it. And that's it. That's all you have to do, and it's in nice pieces. Now, like I said, I like romaine, So I'm actually going to do 2 heads today instead of just one. And I'm going to look at this one. This one looks pretty good. If the leaves look wilted or anything, just go ahead and take them off. But this one actually looks pretty good. So we're just going to cut off the ends. We're going to go 1, 2, turn it a quarter, and then 3. And then we're just going to chop it up. I like romaine. Again, it has more nutrients than the iceberg does. Iceberg is pretty much just water. But, you know, when you're trying to save money, this is one way to do it. You don't have to do all romaine. Or, you know, if you wanted to, you could add spinach to this or any of your preferred lettuces. This is just what I do for my family. So all I'm going to do now, sorry about that, is I'm just going to rinse it. Make sure it's all nice and clean. There's no grit or sand or anything in it. And I'm just going to let it sit in here. And it's going to drain while I'm doing some other prep. And right here, I have my containers. Okay. These are the containers I'm going to use to put my salad in. Most of it's going to go in these individual ones, but the leftovers will go in here. And so what I do for a serving size for me is I prefer 125 grams. That seems to be about a great portion, not too much, not too little, and then I have a little bit left over. I don't prep a lot. I prep about enough for 2 salads for about 3 days. So about 6 salads or a little bit more, because if my daughter wants one and my husband wants one and I want one, okay. So there you go. So that's that. This right here was what I used to cut my cheese on for my cheese crisps, which are over there. And the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to prep my bacon. I bake my bacon, so I will be right back in just a minute. All right, now I'm ready to prep my bacon. As you can see, I've got parchment paper on, and if you can tell from the little squares, this is what I use to make my cheese chips. This is the first time I've ever been able to do this because my dairy allergic daughter is no longer living with us. She's moved off to ETSU to go to college for video game design. So normally I would just put new parchment on and bake the bacon. But because she's not here, I'm gonna go ahead and reuse this because parchment is great. Parchment is my favorite way to make bacon. I don't like frying it. I've never been good at frying it in a skillet. And so when my mom taught me about 10 years ago how to make bacon, baking it, I mean, I was like, okay, I'm down with this. This is awesome. I can do bacon this way. And the good thing is you can take this, and as you can see, it's got little pockets. So it will hold in the bacon grease so that you can then pour it off into a jar to save it for cooking. Now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this bacon, and I splurged on my darling today. I got him the thick cut bacon because it was actually on sale for like $3.99, and he's the only one that eats it now. My middle daughter, she likes bacon, and usually I will make 2 to 3 pounds of bacon. But because she's no longer here, and my youngest isn't really a huge bacon fan, I'm only gonna make 1. He'll use it for lunches or breakfasts. I have some hard-boiled eggs, so he'll take bacon and hard-boiled eggs for breakfast. He'll crumble it up on his salads. We'll add it in with other things, and you know, that's it. That's all we do with it. So I'm going to smoosh this up a little bit, and if you do that, if you just hump it a little bit, it still will bake fairly flat. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven. I put it in a 350-degree oven until it's done, and usually that's about 20-30 minutes. I'll time it this time and I'll let you know. All right, so the next thing we're gonna prep is celery. There's not a lot of vegetables I can have, but celery is one that I can. So I usually try to prep some celery that'll last me a week or two. And so what I like to do with the celery is to cut it up into slices. I just like to cut it up. And then if I want to use it to chop it up for, say, sauteing in a pan to add to something, then it's easier to chop up. And I'm saving this, except for that. I'm saving this, and I put this in my freezer just like this. And I use it, I take it out when I want to make bone broth. I'm just cutting off all the brown pieces that you see. And when I brought it out of the freezer the last time, it did have dark spots on it, but it was still good because when I put it in, it looked like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in my freezer in a Ziploc bag. And then the next time I make bone broth, I'm gonna chop it up a little bit, a little rough chop the end off, and that'll be a really nice addition to flavor for my bone broth. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to rinse these and slice these for you. So I'm going to rinse them off real quick. Really, you're just trying to knock off all the dirt on these. I usually buy one of these every 2 weeks. And if I think that they're getting a little south, I'll just throw the rest in the freezer. And I'm so excited because I now have more freezer room. We lucked up on a deal on Craigslist this week, and I got a 5 cubic foot deep chest freezer. And it was only $30. I was so excited, I just couldn't stand it. All right, so when it comes to cutting celery, it's just a basic. You know, we're gonna go ahead and cut off the ends. And then I cut them into lengths about like that. And then I just cut them into slices. And I just do this for all of it. Like I said, I use this for multiple things. I might chop it up and use it in a salad. I might chop it up and saute it as a nice side dish, which would be sauteed in butter, salt, and pepper. And, you know, everybody's like, well, how does it stay good so long? One of the ways that I make this stay good so long is that I put it in a Tupperware container. And you have to put a little bit of water in it. Now you're going to want to change out the water every few days just to keep it fresh, but this is still a living plant, so therefore keeping it with water is going to keep it crisper. And then when you keep it in the refrigerator, of course, that's going to keep it as crisp. It's going to keep it crisp as well. Another trick that my mom taught me is that you can put, if you don't want to do water, go ahead and put an ice cube or 2 in there. And when you do that, that will keep it nice and crisp too. And usually I'll use that trick if we're going over somewhere to someone's house and I need to bring a side dish and I want to bring celery and carrots and cucumbers, then I will, and broccoli and cauliflower. Some other good things that you can take on a veggie platter would be red and yellow and orange and green peppers. You could also take fresh asparagus, fresh green beans. People don't expect things like that, and they're like, oh, I don't know if we should try it, but you ain't tried nothing till you've had a fresh green bean not cooked, okay? You just tell me that you did it this week. Tell me that you tried a fresh green bean that was not cooked, and tell me if you liked it or not. The first time I did that, I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. My parents had a garden in their backyard because they were trying to get us kids to like our vegetables. And so one day the beans were just everywhere. They were so beyond ready to be picked. And so my parents took us out and we were like, ew, green beans, yuck. And my dad was like, oh no, you don't understand. And he took a bean off the plant and he just bit into it. And my sister's eyes and my eyes got so big. We were like, no way, that can't be good. He's like, no, it is. It's really good. You should try it. And so we did, and we love fresh green beans. Now those would be really good if you had like a ranch dressing or a blue cheese dressing, or even my honey mustard dressing video that I put out last week. And I'll link down below to that honey mustard dressing. But yeah, this is all I do, and as you can tell, it doesn't take long to prep it. And it will last a week or two, especially if you keep the water changed. That's going to be really important that you do that. And just like that, all of that celery that I had is now done. So I'm going to actually grab my bigger Ziploc container and I am going to put them in there. So hold on. All right, I misspoke. It's a Rubbermaid container. But literally, that's it. Now I've got veggies for the week. Now, celery isn't bad. Celery, I believe that it is about 2 grams of carbs per 100 grams of celery. I will verify that and put that in the comments down below so that you can know for sure. But celery is a really nice low carb veggie that you can use. So that's another reason why I love it. Okay, so now at this point we're kind of at a standstill. We're waiting for the bacon to cook, and then the last thing I'm gonna prep cook is chicken. Now I got this, it was $5.81 and it was $1.34 a pound. This is an assorted pack, and I want you to look on here and see that it says up to 7% retained water. That's what you want to see on these labels. If it says that it's got chicken broth or carrageenan or anything like that in it, you don't want it. You want to look for it to say retained water. The broth is going to have a lot of different things in it that aren't really good for you, as well as the carrageenan. I mean, it's a thickener. So they're just adding it to the chicken just to make it heavier. It's not really going to do anything for you, so you might as well just not do it. Now, what I'm going to do to get this prepped is I'm going to get my other pan that I used, because I used 2 pans, and I'm going to use that pan for this chicken. And I'll show you what I do with it in just a minute. All right, I'm back. Now what I've got here is all the spices that I normally put on my chicken. Of course, we're always going to have salt. I love salt, and I also love oregano. I also have some rosemary here. And the last thing I'm going to use is a little bit of cayenne pepper. Yum, yum, yum. Okay, so we're going to start, and we're just going to put everything on the baking sheet itself. And I'm going to start with the chicken legs and the chicken thighs. And the reason for that is because I'm going to do a little cutting to the chicken wings. Now, as you can see, I take that extra flap of skin and I put it out because, of course, we want to spice that up and we want to eat it because the skin is so, so good. Okay, so now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have 4 legs, or 4 wings, and I'm going to move this so I can show you what I do with my wings. So this is a chicken wing, and if you look, it's got the hinge and it's got the tip. And always what I do with these, I'm not going to cut them all the way, I'm just going to tip them. And what that means is I'm going to take this tip off. And the reason for that is just aesthetically, I like it better. But the other thing that I do is I take these tips and I freeze them. And then once I get enough and I'm ready to make more bone broth, this is kind of like those chicken feet, you know. I'm not going to eat those chicken feet, but I'm not going to use them for this. But using the wings, the tips of the wings, this really helps to gel your bone broth really well. It because it's raw, it's, you know, it's got a lot of extra coming out of it. It hasn't been baked. So that's it. That's all you have to do to tip them. It's really quick and fast. And I usually tip them. I'll tip a whole pan of them. You know, one of those big pans of them. But this is what we're going to do for now. Okay. So the reason I put these in separate bowls is because I knew my hands would be gross, but let me wash them anyway because I'm weird about that. So I'm going to wash my hands really good because chicken it's really important. Okay, so I'm going to actually make these a little special. Again, I used the parchment from the cheese crisps, and normally I wouldn't do that if I have someone dairy allergic in my house, but because she's not here right now, I'm taking full advantage. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the salt, and you know, all you have to do is just sprinkle it on. I'm a very tactile cook, and I like sprinkling things and spreading things and using my hands, so this is what I do. There we go. We are almost done with the salt on this side. And there. Now I'm going to use a little bit of rosemary, not a lot, just a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. And I do have fresh rosemary in my garden. I just felt like using, this is actually organic rosemary that I get from Amazon. I love all their organic spices. You have to buy a lot, but it lasts me a very long time. I bought some bay leaves. Here's the oregano. I bought some bay leaves. A pound of bay leaves is like humongous. I still have tons of it left because I don't use it as much as I use my rosemary and my oregano. But I am almost out of my oregano and rosemary, so I will be ordering those really soon. I think the last time I ordered them was about 2 years ago. So if it's $15 for a container of these spices, it's not bad because it lasts a really long time. And then the last thing I'm going to use is a little bit of cayenne for just a kick. All right, now personally my family shoots me if I don't spice both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and flip these over. Should be using this hand. Dadgummit. I have to wash my hands again. Alright, let me wash my hands again. If you don't feel like washing your hands, you can use tongs to flip them. I'm just, you know, like I said, this is how I always cook. This is how I was raised to cook, and so there you go. Okay, nice clean hands again. So we're gonna go ahead and salt this side. Now, because cayenne can be a little spicy, I do just use it on the one side. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip these over one more time, and then I'm gonna put another special ingredient on here that I don't normally do, but I feel like today. That's what I love about cooking, is that you can change it up. It can be as similar as you want it to be, or it can be totally different. This is a staple in our house. It's really simple. As you could tell, it wasn't very expensive. And this will be for lunches this week. My daughter is going back to school. She is not 100% keto, but she is pretty darn close, and she said, yeah, I definitely want chicken for lunches this week. So that's what we're gonna do for her. Now I'm gonna, not using this hand, we're gonna flip these over one more time. And then we're going to put one more seasoning on these. Oh, and as you could tell, I didn't put any rosemary on this side as well, and that's because I totally forgot. Okay, so the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take the Parmesan cheese that I used earlier. It looked yummy to me while I was just sitting here doing it, so I thought, you know what? A little sprinkle of Parmesan cheese is never a bad thing. So we're gonna go ahead and do that as well. Again, this is not something I normally do, but I thought it would be a nice little addition since I had it sitting here right in front of me. And what I'm gonna do with this is I'm actually gonna throw it in the oven. Right now it's set for 350 because it's making the bacon. And then I'm going to just let it cook while the bacon's cooking, and it'll probably go a little bit longer. We like our chicken really crispy on both sides, nice golden brown skin. So our chicken always takes forever, but it's so worth it because it's so good. All right, there you go. Our chicken is prepped. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the oven, and we're gonna go ahead and let that cook. So that's it. That's about all I'm gonna prep today. And let's see, hold on. All right, so that's about it. That's about all I'm gonna prep today. Again, we've got lag time because we're baking the bacon and we're baking the chicken, but everything else is done. I'm gonna go ahead and put my lettuce in those containers. I'm gonna weigh it out, and I have a scale that I got at Goodwill. And it's just a simple little digital scale, and when you turn it on, it gives you, the only thing is it didn't come with a book, and it only measures in grams, which I am finding that is a lot more accurate for carb counts and for other things. So I'll just put a container on there, turn it on, and then go up to 125 grams, and that's it. If I have any left over, what I might do is put it in another container, or I also like to use Ziploc bags. Now I'm probably going to go ahead and prep a little bit of shredded cheese and put those in little snack size bags, and you know, that'll be great for the salads as well if my husband wants to take a salad to work or anything like that. So thank you for spending your time prepping with me. I think we're gonna have a really good meal this week. We're gonna enjoy everything. And most of this is prepping for breakfasts and lunches. But you know, we've got that really good spread that we're gonna put on our chicken for later this week. So I'm really excited about that as well. So please remember to like, to comment down below. Let me know what you think of these recipes if you've tried them. And also, what do you like to prep cook? What would you like me to see? What would you like to see from me next? And also, just any other comments. So thank you so much. Have a great day.